Hello, my name is Mike Pfaff, and this is my YouTube channel, Living in the Illusion. And as usual on our whiteboard, we have the topic from our last video, and also the diagram that we used. And since all of these are kind of tied together, we're going to go through a little review on the last video before going into our new subject. So the last video was this: you never manifest what you want. Oh, so that was a little controversial based upon the theory of manifesting. And in that theory, we say certain rituals or certain behaviors, and what is out here in the universe or the infinite field of everything moves towards us. So if this represents you and this is what you want, by doing certain things, you will have this move over to you, and you will have it inside of you. It'll be part of you. And so this is a theory. So as you manifest and you do your dance around your vision boards, and you say your affirmations, and you throw your dice on the ground, and come up with a theory as to what you're going to get and when you're going to get it. You put your bones on the ground. You say, "Oh, I'm going to get what I want in 2 days," and this comes over here, and you get it over there. Don't work that way. We like to think it does, because that means we don't have to do anything except a little magic dance, and then everything comes to us from the universe. Because the universe don't know that we're just make believe that we deserve this. So no, in my theory, it's all energy. What you want is out here in this field, because everything is there. And as you want it over here, this is vibrating. This is like a radio antenna in the universe. And it is vibrating and radiating like a radio antenna what you want. You have to be the receiver of the information, the radio receiver. So we put a radio here, and the radio has a volume knob, it has a adjusting knob for tuning, and it has a speaker. It's an old-fashioned radio because it's a big speaker. So to get this over here inside of you, you have to change your tuner. What is your tuner? Your lens of perception. So to get what you want that you don't have now, it's here. You have to tune yourself. What does that mean? You have to change your perception, your lens of perception. And what is your lens of perception? Your belief system. And what is your belief system made out of? Your memories of life experiences. So for you to manifest what you want from this radiating field of information, you have to change. You have to change. When you change, when you change your perception to match this information, this radiating information, you'll get what you want. This never leaves the infinite field. It's energy. What you want doesn't leave the field, but it doesn't have to. When you change your perception, you'll get it. So you are not manifesting this. You're manifesting who you are. And right now, what you have, the world that you have that you want to change through manifesting, is the way it is because you're tuned through your lens of perception the way you are. If you want this, what you want, you got to change this. Your lens of perception, your belief system. You have to do something. And that's what the last video was about. So now we're going to go on to a very exciting new video now. And this is our subject for today. And let me read it off my little paper because it's a little different up here. Weird truth. Weird truth. It's you that create reality. So we're going to be talking about reality. And what do we know about reality? Well, from our little diagram here, we have it divided up into the infinite field of everything, touching, or experiencing, or experience. And you. So we have certain elements up here around reality. So let's take a, now we're going to talk about a little bit later some scientific evidence from scientific sources. And do follow those. They'll be referenced in the video description. But for right now, we experience the infinite field of everything, which is energy, which is the all. And from the last video, everything is here. Everything you want, everything you don't want. The good, the bad, and the ugly is all out here. And you experience the reality of all of this in here. So, you might say, well, no, I don't make reality. Reality is what's there. It's what's outside. So we're looking at the reality and what's outside. And what I have said, there's only energy out here. There's only the all. There's only consciousness. But let us go on and talk about touching this reality. And so we touch this by experiencing it through our senses. So let us look at how we do that. And so I'm going because when you know, usually how we prove that something is there is that we experience it with our senses. So really the experience is sensory. So this is sensority. I don't know, that might not be right. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. Sensory, without the T, I think. Well, we'll change it. Sensory input. So, that's how we know reality. And what I said is, you create it. So, it's not out here. Out here is energy, and you're taking information in. That's all you're doing. Now, let's think about touching. Quite interesting. And I'm going to put it up here. And this information comes from AI, our new source of information, AI overview through Google. So here's what it says. According to the principles of quantum mechanics. Oh, see how we threw in those big words? Quantum mechanics. We technically never touch anything in the true sense. As the electrons in our atoms, because we're made of atoms, repel the electrons in other atoms. So they repel each other. So these little fingers, this finger now, when it touches this finger, you say, oh, I'm touching. No, you're not. What does it say? The atoms never touch. The electrons in other atoms, creating a small gap between your fingers. Your fingers never touch. What you think of touching is the reaction or the energy of the repulsion of the atoms. And you say, oh no, that's touch. No, that shows there's a gap there. Nothing ever touches. Well, at least what Google says. Now, also, you may know in the brain, the neurons in the brain never touch each other. Never touch. The ACIM of the neuron that meets up with the dendrite of the next neuron, there's always a gap. It's called a synapsis. They never touch. Nothing in your brain ever touches. So when somebody says, oh, neurons that fire together wire together, like a physical connection. There's no physical connection. They're not wired. They don't stay that way. They move. They undulate. They move with the flow of the blood and the brain and what is going on in other parts of the brain. Nothing ever touches. And that's what I'm pointing out. Oh, that's too bad, because that's how we verify that there's an outside reality, that we touch it with our senses. Now with our fingers, we just talked about that. We touch, we don't touch. We get feedback information from how close they come together. And if you push hard enough, with enough force, they'll mold into each other. And you can get a little atomic explosion as they repel. From there, boom, they go apart. That's what they found out in the Hadron Collider. You get all these things going real fast, boom, they bounce into each other, and they just explode and come apart. Of course, that's what they want. They want to know what else is in those particles. So you're reaching out, you over here, you're reaching out with your senses, all 5 of them, and you are picking up information. What do you do with it? Well, you create reality. Well, the reality is out here, isn't it? No, there's only energy here, and you're picking up the energy. The reality of what this energy is for you is determined by your interpretation of the information, the input from your senses. There is no outside reality. Nothing touches. There's nothing here but flowing energy. Now that's kind of strange, because in the egoic world, we know that's a whiteboard, by God, that's a real thing. No, but when I touch it and I make noise, that's the interaction of the molecules at the molecular level coming apart. That's energy. The noise is energy. And your senses pick it up. And you make a certain interpretation of the energy and say, oh, there's something there. There's nothing there but energy. So that's the first part of understanding where reality comes from, and that you create the only reality there is. So what's another thing? Let's get right down to it and ask all this information through the internet and through Google. Does objective reality exist? Oh, and I asked that question. You guys should ask that question. If you got a computer or a phone, or you can get on the internet. It says, does objective reality exist? Here's what it says. We all live in our own subjective realities. Each one of us has our own objective reality. The human mind is not capable of being totally objective. Therefore, the entire idea of a single objective reality is purely speculative. An assumption. But in the egoic world, that's not true. Don't tell me that. I know what I believe, and I know what my eyes see, and what I hear, and what I touch, and what I feel, what I smell. I know exactly what it is. That's why I put this way down here at the bottom, hoping you wouldn't see it right away. It's an illusion. Of course, that's what Einstein said. Maybe I'll put his quote up here. It's an illusion. Reality is an illusion. I can't quote it exactly, that's why I'm going to put it up here. Reality is an illusion, but a very persistent one. Why? The strongest thing is your belief system. If you believe there is an outside reality, then there is for you. Each of us make our own subjective reality through the interpretation of our sensory input. Now, what does this sound like? The last video, and the one before that, and the one before that. And as I referenced before, and I will this time, the senses don't tell you anything. The senses don't tell you anything. Everything you think the senses are telling you, your eyes, your nose, your touch, your smell, your taste, is all an interpretation of the mind. No, that can't be true. I'm not the creator. The reality is out here. We've never been able to find it. There's not one scientist who has found reality using the most sophisticated equipment that has been designed. I can't find reality. Why is that? There is no reality in the illusion. It's all an interpretation of the mind. Nothing is really there except what you believe is there based upon your life experiences, based upon your egoic belief system. But when you begin to look through the illusion, when you begin to put, and all the information is there. I said that in other things. I said, somebody asked me the question in the comments, where do you get your ideas? Where do they come up? Well, they don't come up from me. I get them from other people. I go on the internet and I ask the question, does objective reality exist? It's very clear. No. We don't have objective reality. We have subjective reality that we believe is objective. So what does Course in Miracles say about this? Oh, we ought to talk to them too and see what they say. Well, I looked around, and this is pretty long, so I'll have to break it down into smaller sections. But this is the whole thing, and then I'll break it down a little bit. Here's what the Course says. You see it up here. What is seen as reality is simply what the mind prefers. Its hierarchy of value is projected outward, and it sends the body's eyes to find it. The body's eyes will never see except through differences. Oh, that's one to explain. Through differences. Yet, it is not the messages they bring that brings on which perception rests. What the senses bring is not what you perceive, what is seen. Only the mind evaluates the messages. Only the mind evaluates the input from the senses. And so only the mind is responsible for what you see, what you taste, what you smell, what you touch. It is your interpretation based on life experiences that creates the reality that you have. It's not out here. Reality is here. And it's your unique reality, your unique subjective interpretation of the information that your senses are sending you, the messengers of the information. It's not what's here. It's just information. Out here, chaos. In here, meaningful reality for you. It's you that creates the only reality there is. There's no other reality. And in another video, I said, I only exist because of your interpretation. This that you interpret, this information that comes to you, that you interpret as me, is uniquely yours. and you never see me. Oh, the illusion is so magnificent, and we get caught up in it, and we have such a strong belief system in the fact that we have a real objective world out here. So some of you may even think, well, I'm not going to listen to this channel. I'm going to go to where the real information is, on the internet. If you go on the internet and you really look, you'll find out you're making your reality. And it's magnificent from the standpoint that you can change it. So let's break down a little bit more what the Course says. What is seen as reality is simply what you prefer based upon your belief system. And your belief system was given to you, for the most part, from family of origin, which got it from the egoic belief system. The hierarchy value is projected. Whatever you interpret, you project onto here, onto this, onto the infinite field. Now, it's not here, it is there, but from the conscious mind standpoint, you will project it here. Okay? Because it's outward. You're projecting it outward into here. And then you look with your eyes. See? You don't see it here. You see what you originally interpreted, originally brought, and created your reality. You put it out here, and like I said in the other videos, that your projection will match this information here. Why? Because it came from here. The information came from here, but you filtered it and made your reality. You made your subjective interpretation of this information, projected it out here. It fits into this exactly, and you see it again. You'll get the same message. You'll produce the same thing here. That's about manifesting. That's why I say you create your own world. You want a different world, you got to change how you interpret it. To me, that's not rocket science. You must recognize that if you do what you always done, you're going to get what you always got. If you expect something different, you got to do something different. Crazy world. So now the eyes the eyes will just do the same thing. They will just tell you what you interpreted because it's out here. The raw information is here. Okay. Only the mind evaluates. This information is only in the mind, the interpretation in the mind. Only the mind evaluates the messages from the senses. And so only the mind is responsible. Only the mind is responsible for what you see, what you taste, what you smell, what you touch, what you feel. Everything is an interpretation of the mind. Energy out here, meaningless energy, meaningful world for you here. And this is where you live. You don't live here. You can't live in this. This is everything. This is the good, the bad, the ugly, the terrible, the beautiful, the sublime. Everything is here. You filter it, the everything, to get your interpretation that fits your belief system. Think about that. See how that fits in your world, because you're creating it. And it's the only reality there is. The only reality. You might say, well, I got my reality. You don't know what my reality is. The only reality there is the one you know, and it's the one you interpret. Your significant other, they got their own reality, and you will never know what it is. So we all have our own subjective reality, and we make believe, we pretend that it's out here, and we all have the same reality. We all have one reality out here, and we don't recognize none of us have the same reality. Be good to yourself. This is deep. And the scientific information, you can check it out. You might not want to, because what it might do is cause you to change your belief system, which will change your interpretation, which will cause you to have a different world. It's still going to be illusional, but it will be different. Illusion doesn't mean there's nothing there. Oh no, there is something there. It's just not what you think it is. Bye now.